We're going to end off with 4 questions.
Okay.
We're going to ask you for your recommendations. And now this is going to be on record forever. This is
All
going to be
right.
on the internet forever. So just make sure you get your good recommendations. So we're going to
Nice.
need one book, not your own,
Yeah.
one podcast, not your own, one album. I don't think you've cut an album, so I'm not going to say not your own, and one food. So
Okay.
book, podcast, album, food.
Okay. So book. I have so many great favorites. I go between nonfiction and fiction and everything else. But
I really like when I ask this question, people struggling with it. I enjoy that. So
yeah, I bet. I will say The Imaginary Girlfriend, written by John Irving.
Oh, John Irving. Okay. Yeah.
And nobody knows about this book because it's
I
not
don't.
like Garp and everything else.
Mhm.
When John Irving was a wrestler, which kind of finds its way into like Garp and other books. But he was a wrestler in college and he discovers his love of writing. And he discovers his love of writing, and he loves it more than his wrestling. And he was on the college team. Like, he was a great wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
And he discovers writing, much in the same way that I did. And he goes to his coach and says repeatedly, I can't go to practice. I can't go to the tournament. I can't go to the thing because I have to go I have to go see my girlfriend. His girlfriend was his writing.
It's a boy, John Irving. That's really good. Yeah.
And so one of my greatest moments of my life was having dinner with the publisher of my second book and sitting in a restaurant beside John Irving.
Whoa, really?
And getting to tell him that story.
How did he react?
He was gracious. He was lovely. He was lovely because it's like everyone's like Owen Meany and Garp, and I was like, Imaginary Girlfriend, and this is why. I was a wrestler. I did not know I could write, and I discovered it late in life. So that's the book.
Nice.
The album, I would say the album, and this is just kind of stuff that you go back and listen to License to Ill by the Beastie Boys, 1985.
Yep.
So here's 3 white Jewish kids from Brooklyn who decide that they're going to sample Led Zeppelin for hip hop. They just did it.
They sure did.
And when you look at the arc of their career, they look back embarrassingly at some of the aspects of that album, of who they were, and that their personality that came out of Fight for Your Right to Party, and that it was a joke to them that they were making fun of the bro frat crew. And in the end, those are the people who were coming out to their concerts who didn't get the joke.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see that the Beastie Boys, now some of you out there are saying like, well, they had some pretty misogynist lyrics, and they admit it to this day, and they're like, yeah, we did. And we changed our mind of what we think about that. And I think that's true growth. And I think so if you go back to experience what they went through and how they started, it's just such a really cool, it's an interesting moment in time in music. It's an interesting entrepreneurial journey for them. And it's also a great learning of who they are now, having lost one of their members and everything. I think it's just such an interesting arc.
Yeah. Have you seen the documentary that they put out a little while ago?
It's amazing. Even that, right? Of even like shooting a documentary live in front of an audience of them commenting with the B-roll and behind them, like it's just it was really, really, really cool.
They're great at just finding a twist on doing something, you know. So
yeah,
great.
Yeah. A podcast.
Yep.
It's really weird. This is one of the things with the pandemic is that my podcast listening has decreased rapidly, because I used to do it on planes and trains, and and I do more virtual, and I used to listen kind of going into work. I don't go into the office as much, and so podcast listening has gone down. I would say I think if you go back to the early Malcolm Gladwell stuff of revisionist history, because the structure of that is I think something that we need more of. I think I think we need more podcasts that are highly produced, that are scripted, that are mini documentaries, opposed to, and I say this being one of the two dudes talking,
Yeah.
right? Which is what, and I love that. That's just, I love the conversational thing. But I think that when we did the Coup, we looked at Malcolm Gladwell and said, like, let's try and do something like that. So I like that as a structure, as an interesting thing.
That's
And
why I said that your podcast is better than my podcast, because it was very structured.
well, I just think it's a different thing. I think it's a different, it's a different thing.
Absolutely.
I don't know that I could lead conversation as well as you do.
Oh, thank you.
I like, and I just knew that I wasn't going to be good at that.
No, your podcasts are very cinematic when you listen to them. The sound effects, editing, everything. So
oh, yeah, it was like, but I was a team of people, right? Like, I'm not doing that. And then what was the fourth one?
Food.
Oh, food.
Yeah.
Food.
Tony said steak and potatoes, so that was his.
I don't know that nachos, like, to me, are just such an accessible, really difficult to fuck up, but when you get some great nachos, which is the blend of the cheese and the vegetables, and if you get meat on them and whatever, like some use like too many vegetables, not enough salsa, not enough sour cream, like there's all that kind of thing. I think I love a good nacho.
And it's just like a pile of them on the visual of the pile of the nachos is really
they're so ridiculously easy to make, and I never make them at home. It's like I love the restaurant. And you can't get them through delivery either, because they suck when they
they'll be cold. You can't eat nachos cold. That's ridiculous. So
no. So I'll go nachos.
All right. That sounds the foods always does it for me. My mouth starts watering when people start mentioning their favorite food. So Ron, hold on tight. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. I had an alt for your nickname. Would you like to hear it?
Yeah.
It's Ron, don't be so uptight.
Nice.
That's the alt. So
I think hold on is more apt for appropriate for the conversation is going to go where we don't know where the conversation is going to go.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Hold on tight. Yeah, that's great.